Hiya! And welcome back to Far Beyond the World. The game that teaches us that Batman is accessible to all platforms. Including the Furry fandom, and for us, it is in the form of Volgor. You cannot change my mind. Volgor is the furry version of fucking Batman. But holy shit, this music's sad. Let's just hop right in. Suddenly, everything goes black for a moment, and time freezes. A faint whisper fills my mind. I don't know where it's coming from, and I don't recognize it either. His blade will taste your flesh. Although it penetrates my very soul with cold fear, my heart almost yells at me not to listen. Is it a warning, or is my frightened mind playing tricks on me? Volgor wouldn't hurt me after he made that promise, would he? Which one? That is true. He does literally want to kill us. Yes, let's put our faith into Batman. The gray male issues a warning growl towards his friend, but I find myself placing a hand on the back of his neck. The wolf twitches at the sensation, looking at me inquisitively. Though it feels counterintuitive, I rub his fur, letting him know that everything is fine. It's okay. I trust the black wolf. Despite my initial knee-jerk reaction, I realize what he wants to do. You know the saying, touch the beans and you get the means. But in this case, it's fucking worth it. I mean, look at these things. They are very boopable. These are boopable finger beans. And just like that, Volgor kneels next to the bed, presenting me with a dagger resting across both his paws. It is clear he takes great pride in it, as it is polished to perfection, the glistening surface reflecting my image without a blemish. I reach to his paws not to pick up the blade. I trust the wolf to keep it steady, but to adjust the angle so that I can see myself clearer. I touch my lips, tracing them slowly as my eyes follow the mirrored gesture on the metallic surface. I feel at my cheekbones, then touch the tip of my nose, eyes fixed on the reflection. I ruffle my hair, pulling at stray strands of my fringe, pretty much exploring myself in the same fashion I was exploring Ranok earlier. Without even noticing it, I've begun weeping again. Damn it, what is it with anime protagonists and crying? I mean, you have us here just sobbing, just like lightly crying. Eren Yeager, who I swear to God in like the first 2 seasons cried every other episode. I feel like I shouldn't say anything about My Hero Academia. I probably shouldn't say anything about My Hero Academia. 2 streaks of tears cut through the image, clearly visible in the blade. A strange sensation twists my stomach, as if I am seeing myself for the first time. My reflection is both strange and so familiar. I am human. This is what humans are. This is serious, Ranok, the Black Wolf says with a grim tone. Not that he had any semblance of levity before, but at least now he's not being insulting. For the first time, I can see him looking at me with an actual concern. Volgor stands up, sheathing his blade back behind his belt and looking to his friend. If you insist on this foolishness, we should bring Verissa in. Ranok remains silent for a moment, as if weighing his options. I pull myself together, rubbing away stray tears. Who's Verissa? The tribe's shaman. She's both a spiritual guide and a healer. I'm glad the Grey Wolf clarifies that, because despite being vaguely familiar with the word, I'm not sure what it fully entails. Well, you said she's the one who sent you into the woods. Besides, she could help with my memory loss. I don't exactly feel myself since I've woken up. I realize that if there is someone here who could give me medical attention, I'd rather have them check me up. Despite Ranok's best intentions, he's clearly conflicted about something, and as calming and reassuring as he tries to be, he's no medic. Volgor looks at me with a smile and understanding. It's time to go underground. It is time to go underground. The world is officially over. The world is officially over. Russell got angry. Ty is trying to be all hip and young and cool. Axel got drunk. Lucas is constantly smiling. Eric is not being a pervert. And fucking Batman is smiling. Fucking Volgor is smiling and is terrifying. It is terrifying. The world is now officially over. Sound the alarm. At least the piglet can see some reason. Now, he's not really I don't really see, like, any Amicus, and, like, maybe, like, fur pattern is similar, but, like, this isn't Amicus. No, Amicus is kind. And dumb. This is just the lighter colored Amicus. What I want to see is an end to this emotional roller coaster. Oh my god! Roller coaster. Those words that come to my mind. They make no sense, but at the same time I understand them. I shake my head in frustration. Oh god! If Amicus became smart, we're all done for. I'm sorry, but that man can never be intelligent. He must never be intelligent. I shake my head in frustration. What is going on? What if she doesn't see it the way I do? If you claim this is what was meant to be, Verissa is as much a part of it as you are. Besides, without her help, we're already fucked. That's when my eyes drift to the Black Wolf, brows risen in confusion. You keep saying we, but if it's Ranok who found me, how did you get involved? I'm not suspicious or accusatory, simply curious. I went looking for the fool when he was gone too long. Don't spiritual journeys take long? The Black Wolf covers his eyes in annoyance. It's just a tradition. You're told to go into the woods, find a rabbit eating moss, and realize we're all connected or some other crap. Volgor nearly snarls in annoyance. I can sense he's not the one to believe in superstitions, and I find myself agreeing. When it took him an entire night to return, I decided to look for him, and there he was, fiddling with a naked mole rat. If you hate me so much, why didn't you just turn us in? Volgor's eyes widen as he looks at me with surprise, but only for a moment before he composes himself again. I don't hate you, piglet. You just happened to be in the wrong place at a wrong time. Besides, Ranok is my moon brother. I would never betray him. Then you're a good friend. Volgor nods, as if me saying it has made it any more valid. Every time he gets into trouble, I have to be there to save his furry ass. I look up towards Ranok with a slightly amused smile, noticing the wolf's embarrassment. Does he often find strange creatures in the woods? I don't know why I'm trying to break the tension, but both of the wolves look at me with surprise. It does sound gay. It sounds very gay. We laugh it off. No, this is a first. His ultimate fuck up. The blackmail jabs, but this time in a playful manner. No! I smile but find myself disagreeing with the big wolf. He saved a life, that's not a mistake. Whatever happened to me, if I weren't found, I would surely have died. If not from exposure, then some animal would have done it. I chuckle at the absurdity. A thought of a wild wolf comes immediately to my mind, the beast simply eating me alive while I'm unconscious. Yet here I am because of Wolfman rescued me. Had he not found me, I would most likely be dead by now. Most likely. The black wolf tries to shug indifferently, but there's almost a hint of discomfort in his voice. I look up at Ranok, touching his paw. Thank you. I place all the gratitude into those words I can muster. The wolf smiles, closing his eyes and nodding. Both of you. I smile at Volgor, to which he only shrugs. Those two are definitely gay. Like, okay. Let me just, hang on. Okay. Let me,
Ranok is gay, but Volgor is turbo gay.
I swear to God, Volgor is the gayest one here. He's just so aggressive. He's so aggressive. He's a fucking twink. He's aggressive. He looks away, but I can see his tail give an idle flick. Bring Verissa. The black wolf nods in satisfaction and leaves the room. Be careful, though. That sneaky piglet is quite proficient with combs. I almost choke on a chuckle, completely thrown off by the remark. Combs? Ranok looks at me expectantly, clearly feeling left out from our inside joke. Never mind. I wave him away. As good as the joke was in the moment, I don't want to relive my first encounter with Volgor just yet. With the black wolf gone, an awkward silence falls over the room, but I don't mind. Somehow this grey wolf makes me feel safe and at ease. He does give me that energy. Volgor gives me major bottom energy. I sit quietly on the bed, looking at the bright afternoon outside the window, anxiously kneading the sheets. Ranok keeps standing in his spot, not moving or saying anything. I can feel his gaze drill into me, as he carefully inspects every inch of my body with a rather odd smile. What? He keeps staring at me. Being called out, Ranok turns his gaze to the side in embarrassment. Well, I've never seen a human before. Didn't you get a pretty good look when you found me? He still avoids facing me, the inside of his ears growing red. No, you were unconscious. I only did what I had to save you. I chuckle at his troubled reaction. I guess he took it the wrong way. If you've never seen a human before, how did you know I was one? Well, we have stories. Of humans. Among many others. We know you have pink skin, almost no fur aside from the head. That sort of stuff. I roll my eyes. Beige. Huh? My skin is beige. I'd have to stay out in the sun for quite a while to become pink. And humans can have a much darker complexion as well. Heh, is that so? I guess we just haven't dealt with those in the past. Ranok grins and we enter another awkward silence. The bright sun and distinctive smell of flowers make me think of spring, although that doesn't seem quite right to me. It's almost as if the seasons got mixed up somehow. However, cool air brushing over my naked body convinces me beyond doubt that it is indeed spring. I shiver slightly, reminded that I'm not wearing any clothes. Why am I look down at my strange loincloth. Almost naked. Where are my clothes? I found you how the Mother Moon made you. And this? I point to the material covering my groin. I've put that on for obvious reasons. Right. My eyes widen in realization that this wolf had not only seen me naked, but also put on me what just as well could have been a diaper. I feel my face burning red, heat rising to my cheeks. Thank you. I blurt out awkwardly. I can see the wolf pick up on my train of thought as he looks to the side with his ears folded back, but he quickly regains his composure. You're welcome. As much as I want to change the subject, I need to make sure I understand what he meant. So, I was passed out in the woods, butt naked. Pretty much. He shrugs, clearly as uncomfortable with the topic as I am. I'm not sure why. It's not like he was the one whisked away in the nude by a strapping wolf man. This is some first-class damsel in distress crap. Weird. Yeah. The wolf sits down on the bed, leaving some distance between us. We avoid looking at each other, although we both sneak a peek from time to time. I can't understand what I was doing naked in the forest. It just doesn't sound like something I would do. It had to be someone else who did this to me, and it's an unsettling thought. Was I kidnapped? Mugged and left for dead? Or maybe drugged and taken into the woods too? No. I shake my head. I don't even want to entertain that idea. However, I cannot help but wonder how I ended up here. And where's my home? I must have a family somewhere, someone who loves and cares about me. Someone who'd be searching for me. But nothing comes to mind, only this wolf. Without him, I would be completely alone here, and that's terrifying. I can hear his tail switch across the linen. He's either nervous or excited. His paw slides across the bedding towards my leg. I try not to notice, curious what he is up to, until he pricks me with his dull claw. What are you doing? I scoff in amusement. Sorry, this is all new to me. I'm simply curious. Didn't mean any offense. He fidgets with his fingers, looking innocently at the window. No, it's fine, I guess. Seems only fair after I felt you up. Yeah, you took some liberties. He smirks, giving me a side-eye. Okay then. I decide to move closer to him, pushing out my chest with a challenging smile. Let's get even. I gently tease him, watching him closely all the while. Ranok looks at me with surprise in his eyes, but quickly smiles back, his tail wagging in obvious joy. He slowly reaches out his paw, hesitant to touch me outright. I think he doesn't want to come off as too eager, and I smirk, tilting my head in a little "really" expression. He scoffs and finally musters the courage to make contact, touching my chest with his warm pads. I look down at his paw and can't help but feel amazed. It easily covers both my breasts, really driving home how tiny I am compared to this guy. Ranok rubs me gently for a moment, then moves his paw up to my shoulder. It tickles, but I try to maintain my composure. Being touched like this is weird enough without me making it even weirder with girly giggles. If I'm really the first human he's ever met, then I know perfectly well how confusing and mesmerizing this has to be for him. After all, I lived through the same experience just a few moments ago. You're quite something, he mutters, sliding his fingertips along my arm. Soft and fragile, your skin almost like parchment. I furrow my brows at the comparison, but then again, I guess it's true. And compared to them, I am quite fragile. Aren't you cold? He asks absent-mindedly while brushing his paw across my side. Another ticklish cramp shoots through my body and I can no longer rein my instincts. I twist with a hearty laugh, pushing his paw away. Stop, that tickles. Oh. He gasps in amusement. Good to know. But yeah, I'm quite cold actually. Do you have any shirts I could borrow? Ranok grins awkwardly, pointing to his furry body. Right, I guess you have no need for any. The only thing I could offer is my spare gambeson, but I doubt it would be comfortable. He points to his padded quilt, and I have to agree. I'm not sure how I'd even wear that. I just need to cover my top, really. I sigh, looking around for something else to cover myself with. I settle for one of the blankets that lays on the bed, tugging at it. Ranok stands up for a moment, allowing me to pull it out from underneath him. I wrap it around myself almost like a poncho, shielding my body from the draft. So, what do we do now? I ask, looking at the wolf with the risen brow. We could talk, get to know each other. I shake my head. I meant this whole mess we found ourselves in. Ah. Well, I think I'm responsible for returning you back to your people. Whoever they may be. I shrug, knowing full well I have no idea where I would even return to. None of this feels right. Even if it seems fairly real, I have a nagging feeling that I don't belong here. Almost as if it were just a dream. Something I just need to ride out until I finally wake up. Your memories will return in time, I'm sure of it. Well, I'm not. In the meantime, I just need to protect you. You look so confident there. From what you two said earlier, that might be easier said than done. That's where Verissa comes in. She's our shaman. If anyone can figure out how to sort this out, it's her. Sort out how? Well, I can't hide you in my home forever. Sooner or later, someone would sniff you out. He frowns for just a moment, but a confident smile quickly returns to his muzzle. I just need to find an angle to present your case to our chief and ensure your safety. And what is my case? That you have a right to sanctuary. Meaning, it's an ancient Sylvan law, preceding any of the Wolven laws. It means that any gravely wounded creature should be granted protection within our forest. But I'm not wounded. I glance over my body, checking both the torso and the sides. I cannot see my back, so I reach out with my hand trying to feel out anything. At least not gravely. I am sore, but my skin for the most part seems to be intact. When I found you, I thought you were, and even now, although you're not physically hurt, it's clear you suffered some sort of trauma. If you found me naked, why would you think I was hurt? Ranok winces at the question. This doesn't bid well. Ranok? He remains silent, clearly struggling with the answer, and my voice fills with dread. Why did you think I was gravely wounded? You were covered in blood and viscera. A lot of it. I blink. What? I thought you were attacked and left for dead. What the hell? I can't even begin to imagine myself splayed out naked in the middle of the forest, let alone drenched in blood. But, again, I reach around to feel out my body and find nothing. The blood couldn't have been mine. What was going on in that forest? This whole situation gets weirder and weirder with each word this wolf utters. You were unresponsive, and your heartbeat was so faint. I thought you were dying. His voice falters slightly, causing me to swallow hard. I'm glad I was out for that part. I had to try to save you, so I decided to bring you here. I came upon Volgor halfway to the village. He might not want to admit it, but even he was shaken by your state. At least it made it easier to convince him to help smuggle you. I can't imagine Volgor being moved by anything, and that one sentiment alone drives home how terrifying it must have looked. It seems like you barely survived a massacre. Once we got here, I began cleaning you of all the blood, washing you bit by bit. I feel a hot flush as it dawns on me what this means. I was out cold, naked, and this wolf... You washed me? I swallow heavily again, the lump in my throat growing larger. Even now, it's obvious he had to. The idea is quite embarrassing. He mirrors my discomfort, looking away with a defensive tone in his voice. I needed to find where the blood was coming from, but I couldn't find anything. There was not a single scratch on your body. He's so flustered that I almost feel bad for him. I didn't mean to insinuate anything. I smile at his hasty explanation, just wanting to put him at ease. There are few now, I say with a cheeky grin, showing a few scrapes and bruises left by the black wolf. Although Ranok smiles for a moment, I can see his ears splay back. My good intentions seem to have backfired. Sorry about that. It's not your fault. I touch his shoulder, trying to reassure him. Well, I did leave you in his care. True, and knowing him just for a few moments, I wouldn't leave him alone with another living being. I chuckle, trying to cheer him up. But you didn't have a choice. Yeah. He sounds unconvinced, looking away towards the window. I can tell he feels responsible for me, and what Volgor did doesn't sit well with him. I decide to drop the subject, but I appreciate seeing how much he cares about it. So, the blood wasn't mine? Ranok slumps, resting his elbows on his knees and looking straight at the floor. In retrospect, if it was yours, it would have meant that you were bled dry. There was so much of it. That's one of the reasons why Vol quickly turned against you. What? Why? To him, it meant you weren't a victim, but rather... He can't think I had anything to do with that. I protest, throwing my arms out. I mean, look at me! Do I look like I'm capable of eviscerating someone? Well, I don't think you are, but it did unsettle him. Besides, it goes deeper than that. I had a moral right to save you, had you been hurt, but you were not. I brought you into the village under a false pretense. But you didn't know that at the time. I should have checked before I acted. As it stands, you are either dangerous or somehow involved with blood magic. I'm not I cut myself off, allowing his words to fully sink in. Wait, did you just say blood magic? Are you for real? I scoff. I am. There's magic? He looks at me with a serious gaze, as if ignoring my silly question. The more Volgor and I thought about it, the more convinced we became that you were part of some sort of dark ritual. What? I freeze, not out of fright, but utter disbelief. I think you were meant as a sacrifice. My mind is spinning, unable to comprehend what I'm being told. I don't even... I pause, just staring blankly at the wall. You okay? Talking wolves, strange feeling of dread, whispers in the dark, and now blood magic? It's like a mad dream. I cannot contain the storm in my mind, and I just spew out everything in quick succession. I think I need a pause here. You keep saying these things, but I don't understand any of them. You might as well be talking in a foreign language. I get a massive headache just by listening to you. It's like you're from another fucking world. In a sense, we are. He shrugs casually, but to me, nothing about this is casual. I want to say something, but I'm immediately cut off by the sound of the door opening in the adjacent room. Someone entered the cabin. They're here! The Grey Wolf raises to his feet, approaching the doors. Great, so much for my pause. I mumble in annoyance, knowing full well I'll have to digest another portion of complete nonsense. A female's voice reaches us from the other room, just as Ranok opens the doors. I bet it's a shaman they spoke of. If this is another of your pathetic attempts at courtship, then... A white she-wolf snorts at Volgor before she cuts off, entering the room. I'm immediately drawn to her moonstone. It's a quarter moon. By a Luna, it's an actual human. Wait, hang on. So, Volgor is attempting to court Verissa. I assume that's Verissa. Pretty sure that is. He's a fucking bottom. He is a fucking bottom. As opposed to what, an imaginary one? She looks quite young to be a shaman, and even though I'm not familiar with what shamans actually do, something tells me they should be a bit more experienced. Her golden eyes gaze at me with disbelief for a moment before turning to Ranok. Have you lost your damned mind? She glares furiously at the Grey Wolf, who winces and slumps slightly in defense. Verissa? Now it's the female who stumbles back, evidently startled by the sound of her name coming from my lips. Did it speak my... Don't get too excited. We mentioned your name to the humans several times. No spiritual trickery involved. I try to contain a smirk at Volgor's remark. His pragmatism and down-to-earth attitude are really starting to grow on me. The female's eyes narrow as she moves closer, but she still keeps a safe distance between herself and the bed. So that's what humans look like. Her eyebrows rise at my experience, and I can swear I hear a hint of disappointment in her voice. It's as if she expected something, well, something more than I have to offer. This one seems rather small, no? I throw an annoyed gaze towards Volgor. I know I'm not a bodybuilder like those two, but I don't need them to rub it in every chance they get. Yes, it does, but then again, I wouldn't know. Never seen one before. The female shrugs, and all my hopes of her actually giving me some medical attention melt away. How can she treat a creature if she has never encountered it before? Surely you have to know something. Ranok echoes my concern. Yes, Ranok, I know they are two-legged, upright creatures between 5 to 6 feet tall with little to no fur. Her voice conveys a sense of annoyance that I can almost relate to. I only have our texts to go by, and they don't really deal with humans in detail. I don't think anyone's ever seen one in almost 2 generations. If humans are indeed as rare as they make them out to be, how can they expect her to know any more than they do? Still, the idea of me being some sort of endangered species doesn't seem quite right. Almost as if I'm in a topsy-turvy world. Oh joy, this is going to be that more interesting to explain to his father. Who is Ranok's father? You've been making a huge fuss about him ever since I woke up. The two males look at each other, while the female seems to be completely focused on me, her expression full of shock, no doubt caused by me speaking. I roll my eyes, knowing the conversation is going to be derailed by this at any moment. He's the chief. The chief is Ranok's father? I blurt out, thrown off by the revelation. Somehow I thought those two were different wolves. Somehow I thought those were two different wolves. Wasn't that obvious from the conversation? Sorry, I didn't keep track of all the nonsense you two were spewing. What else did I miss? But if the chief is Ranok's father, surely that's an advantage. You weren't bluffing. It does speak our language. Unnerving. Oh great, here we go again. Yes, I can talk. I bark out in annoyance. So can we please not do this again? Verissa looks at me as one would look at an insolent child. I told you, not a trace of an accent. We already kinda exhausted the subject. The kid speaks, let's just leave it at that. The Grey Wolf comes to my aid and I smile at him with gratitude. I really do not want to revisit this conversation. It almost mentally broke me the last time. Verissa sighs and nods in understanding. Listen, child. You cannot speak a word to anyone else but us. I furrow my brows. Being talked down and patronized doesn't sit right with me. They're not that much older than I am. Oh god, he is Amicus. I mean, okay. They're both princes, I guess. They're both princes. They both made a very stupid decision. They're both dumb. And they're both strong. I'm not a child. Then again, they are talking beasts. My ability to judge their age by looks must be somewhat limited, but I'm sure Ranok can't be that much older than me. He mentioned that he just came of age, right? Oh, how old are you then? I cut myself off, again struggling with this ever-present nothingness in my mind. I can't remember how old I am, but I know I'm not a child. I'm of age. I summarize, not exactly sure whatever that means to the wolves, but fairly certain that for a human that's exactly what I am. Curious, you don't look it. She mutters unconvinced. I would take it as a compliment, but I can bet it's another jab at how small I am. It doesn't really matter now, does it? My quip causes Ranok to laugh. Woody and sharp-tongued. The female looks at Ranok with a hint of fear in her eyes. This is serious. Oh, for crying out loud. Why are you all so obsessed with my ability to speak? Why do you want me to play mute in front of the others? I can see that she gets more spooked out with each sentence I utter, and it only frustrates me more. Are you telling me that humans are supposed to be some sort of primitive cavemen? Is that what this is? Because let me tell you, this house and your outfits look like they're out of a fucking history book. What? It's a good house. Ranok glances around his room with slight confusion, while Verissa briefly checks out her dress. We know that your species isn't primitive. Then why do you want me to play dumb? She finally snaps at me with a soft, almost melodic growl. Because others won't understand. And we do? What is there to understand? I ask in resignation. No outsider speaks our language. We don't teach it to otherkin. She almost says it with disgust in her voice. The only creatures that can speak our tongue are other Avalon wolves. And huskies. But they always have this unbearable twang to the way they speak. You speaking to us like you were born here? It's unheard of. Bordering on sacrilegious. She rests her face in a paw, rubbing her temple. Sacrilegious? Our language is a part of who we are as people. It was given to us by our ancestors, to keep and guard as our own, so that only we can communicate with them. We don't take kindly to otherkin who try to learn it. Teaching outsiders is a capital offense. I don't know why or how I will learn it, which is more the reason for you to keep quiet. It is clear someone had to teach you, and from the way you speak, it was obviously one of our own. Not only is your life in danger, but you could send the entire tribe into a frenzy. Frenzy? It's clear someone betrayed us and broke our laws by teaching outsiders to speak. You're the walking proof of that. We'd have the elders clamoring for blood. And that's the last thing our tribe needs now. More paranoia. This is all utter nonsense. I've never seen a talking wolf in my life. Until today, that is. I shrug. The female looks at me expectantly, but I have nothing else to add. Volgor said you seem to be suffering from a memory loss. I'd say it's far more likely you don't remember meeting a wolf who taught you our language, rather than you miraculously gaining the ability out of the blue. Wouldn't you agree? I guess. I reluctantly concede. In all fairness, both options seem equally plausible, because to me, none of this makes any sense, but I'm not about to argue that to a she-wolf who's convinced that her reality is more valid than mine. Especially since we apparently need her to save my skin. Now that we have this out of the way, let us deal with a more pressing matter. What in the name of Aluna is the human even doing here? It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up. I rest my cheeks in my hands, slumping down as Ranok begins to explain his entire misadventure. I pay as much attention as I can, as some parts of the story flew over my head earlier. However, there are no surprises. Ranok went on a spiritual trip, couldn't find any enlightenment, so he decided to meditate under his tree. Whatever that means. It's like I said a while ago. You own something when you pee on it. That's how dogs work. That's how canines work, and Ranok is a canine. Therefore, it's his tree because he peed on it. Apparently, that's where he found me, drenched in blood. I have to question the ancestors the wolves worship. If this truly is all part of their plan, it's a shoddy one at best. The whole setup seems more akin to a horror story than an actual spiritual journey. But then again, what do I know? I watch as the female listens carefully to what is being said, but she doesn't show any emotion, even when Ranok clumsily tries to implicate her through this coming-of-age ceremony, or suggests that I was part of some sort of dark ritual. She is eerily calm, or at least good at hiding her inner thoughts. That's pretty much it. The Grey Wolf concludes his explanation, and silence falls over the room. It drags on for a bit, while we all look at Versa expectantly. She keeps us in suspense a while longer, most likely weighing her options. Sweet ancestors, you are the dumbest wolf in the tribe, if not the whole of Avalan. She sighs, again not showing much of any emotion. Can you help me protect him? What choice do I have? Finally, something. A hint of annoyance. It's not exactly filling me with hope, but Volgor proves me wrong. You really want to get involved? You've already involved me. Besides, otherkin or not, this human is not at fault. She looks at me with pity. From what you both told me, the human was out cold. It's Ranok who broke the law. I would not be able to sleep knowing that I allowed an innocent to pay for his stupidity. I find it hardly fair to belittle Ranok like this, not when he saved my life. No need to speak. She cuts me off, addressing the two wolves. This is a very precarious situation. We are risking the fury of our tribe. But can you help us? I need to communicate with the spirits. I may have an idea how to fix this, but I want to make sure our ancestors won't find it objectionable. Yeah, sure, go huff some incense while we worry about what to do with this whelp. Again, it's hard not to chuckle at Volgor's jabs. It's nice for once not to be on the receiving end of those. However, I find myself troubled that any plan involving my safety relies on substance abuse. Yes, I will huff some incense, so that I can receive guidance on how to avoid us all getting banished. The female reiterates through her fangs. They keep talking about banishment, but I can't quite understand what for. If it's about me keeping my mouth shut, I will. That's only one of the problems. The The female retorts, looking at me with slight annoyance. I guess she really meant it when she said I shouldn't talk, but I don't care. The forest around our village is sacred. No outsiders are allowed. So they said, but there must be some exceptions. There are none. Trespassing is punishable by death. Even Ranok's delusion about the right of sanctuary is just that. A delusion. She waves her hand towards the Grey Wolf in dismissal. Our people haven't been part of the Sylvan for nearly 1,000 years. Claiming ancient customs as defense for smuggling you in would be tricky, to say the least. The idiot should have killed you where he found you. I frown. Seems a bit harsh. Maybe to you, but it is our forest and it is our duty to protect it. Protect it from what? I don't even know how I got here in the first place. What could I possibly do? The she-wolf sighs, looking at the ceiling with annoyance. I've clearly exhausted her patience. The human asks a lot of questions. I'm sorry, but you keep saying my life is on the line. I'd like to at least understand why. I get the language part, but what possible danger could I pose to your forest? I'm not an arsonist. The female continues to disregard me, causing a moment of silence. She throws an angry stare at Ranok, and I can see his ears splay back, as he looks at me apologetically. I'll explain everything later. You said yourself you need a pause, and we need to focus on our next steps. I take a deep breath, giving him a defiant look, but eventually exhaust with a drawn-out sigh. As much as I want to understand what's going on, a break would allow me to digest all I have learned so far. My mind is still slightly spinning from all the revelations. I nod with a reluctant smile, and I can see Ranok's expression lighten up. It's nice to know how much he cares about my mood. Somehow, I feel like that's not something I'm used to. Someone caring. We need to figure out how to present the facts to my father. And those are that I was meant to find Salen, and that he is meant to be here. You're putting our collective fur on the line. The black wolf issues a stifled growl. He is, but as insane as that sounds, claiming his all fate is our best chance. You can't be serious. Everything will be fine. The spirits willed it. For all our sakes, I really hope that's the case. The female embraces herself, looking at me with a worried, almost empathetic expression. This is going to be a tough nut to crack. I hope you two are ready for the potential fallout. Moon knows I'm sure not. Moon knows I'm not sure I am. Remember your own ceremony? Ranok looks up at her with determination. Your road will be hard, but you must never waver or stray from the path. That was the message you got from the ancestors. He nods confidently, causing the female to stare at him with a slightly open muzzle. None of this was meant to be easy. Versa smiles softly and finally approaches me, stopping right next to the bed and placing her paw on my head. It's much smaller and lighter than Ranok's, however, the gesture is equally tender. It's surprising that for someone so stupid you managed to come up with something almost eloquent. Ah, come on. I hear the black male protest in the back with familiar mockery in his voice. Life will be hard, so keep at it. How's that a prophecy? It can apply to anyone in any given situation. It has nothing to do with the human. Shut up, Vol. She sighs, not even regarding him. I found Salen lying under my name tree. He knew my name, speaks our language, the spirits willed it. It's not a coincidence. Volgor issues an exhausted sigh. Or it is exactly that, a coincidence. Consider this. He proposes, drawing our attention with his paw. A confused human who speaks our language runs through the forest, stumbles upon a random tree, and reads the inscription. When it faints, it mumbles the last thing it saw. No spirits involved. Despite his crudeness, I have to agree with him on this. Even though I don't remember anything prior to my awakening, I might have been running through the woods, and if I did see a tree with a name on it, I'd most likely read it. And you consider this. The female speaks up, slight mockery in her voice, yet she holds up her composure. If that was the case, then we're truly done for, all of us. She swooshes her paw around the room, encompassing everyone, even me. If it's all just a coincidence, as you claim, then the human broke the law by entering the grove. He's dead. Her paw points to me, which sends a cold shiver down my spine. I struggle to swallow as my throat clenches tight. I can feel a bead of sweat running down my forehead. This idiot is facing banishment for not protecting the grove from intrusion. She points to Ranok, then sighs as her paw nonchalantly waves at the black male. Worse yet, you helped him smuggle the outsider within the boundary of our village. That's banishment for you, too. Not sure what double banishment would mean for Ranok, but I'm fairly certain his father would not kill him, even though the law demands it. I look at the gray male with worry. The consequences he's facing are almost as dire as mine. I guess Volgor was telling the truth about his friend not thinking things through. And then there's me. The female finally breaks the silence with a resigned exhale. You damn well know that I haven't finished my training. Everyone questions my abilities as a shaman. My very first ceremony, first communication with the spirit world, and I make Ranok drag a human into the village, breaking our most sacred laws. That's the end of me being a shaman. She lets the words hang for a moment. And now, you brought me here, where instead of immediately sounding an alarm, I'm trying to help you two fix this. The penalty for being part of a conspiracy is banishment. He's alright. He's Batman. He's alright. The female points to each of us in quick succession, starting with me, Ranok, Volgar, and finishing on herself. Death, banishment, banishment, banishment. So, she looks at the Black Wolf. This is not a silly misunderstanding, Vol. We can't talk our way out of this, or use our positions to mitigate the damage. Shall we then all agree that this is the will of the spirits, or should we simply march to the chopping block? She asks with a melodic, almost taunting tone. There's a simple solution, but I'm sure neither of you will approve. Ranok issues a stifled growl. Then why bring it up? Just putting it out there. The Black Wolf shrugs. Snapping its neck would solve the problem, but it would be slightly awkward now that it has a name. Yes, he does, so you might as well start using it. I'm going to stick with Piglet for now. No point getting attached just yet. The Black Wolf tries to give me a cold gaze, but his muzzle is tinged with worry. We're all walking on thin ice here. The female shakes her head in dismissal. Don't you worry, I intend to save our pelts as well as the human's life. The female approaches the doors, opening it. So, you know how to fix this? I already said I do. I just need to make sure I will not offend the ancestors. As she is about to leave, she stops, turning towards the two wolves. Our little congregation was most likely noted. I suggest we disperse not to raise any further suspicion. The wolves nodded to each other in agreement. Am I to stay here alone? Salen, was it? Since you claim you're not a child, I assume you'll be fine on your own. I frown at her snarky remark, but nod in agreement. Vol, you keep an eye on the house. Make sure no one's snooping about. Ranok, you must go and speak with Tano. Why? The male scoffs, seemingly appalled by her suggestion. Because not joining your father on the hunt already looked very odd. Chat him up about rangers or patrols or whatever it is you fur-for-brains do. Make up an excuse to put him at ease. Who's Tano? A nosy bastard. And the last thing we need is him sniffing about. I don't understand. Can't you just stay at home? She looks at me with a slightly risen brow, clearly annoyed I keep talking. We are a tightly knit community. Meeting up in seclusion reeks of dissent. With that, she leaves the room, Volgar following suit. Only Ranok stays behind for a moment as if struggling to decide on something. Eventually he approaches me and crouches next to the bed, so that our eyes are on the same level. He gently squeezes my shoulder with his paw, one of his fangs poking out through a goofy smile. I won't be long, he says encouragingly. Once I'm back, we'll be able to talk some more, okay? I nod and snicker, hearing his tail swoosh against the wooden floor in excitement. The way he wags his tail with such enthusiasm almost begs to question why the whole place is so dirty. One does not even need a broom with a wolf like that around. Ranok! The female calls out impatiently from the other room. Just stay out of sight. I'll be fine. I reassure him, but then I hear a deep rumble inside my stomach. The cramps make me squirm as if I've never eaten a meal before. I am ravenous, and I think the stress of the situation is the only thing that kept my attention away from it. If I could only have something to eat. I see the wolf look at me with a troubled expression, as if he didn't factor in that I require sustenance. He is so fucking dumb. He is so dumb. Ranok slaps his forehead in deep annoyance. Spirits, I'm so stupid! What is it now? The Black Wolf calls out from the other room, appearing in the doorway. How are we going to feed him? I can eat pretty much anything, I mumble, although the idea of raw meat is making me queasy. Fuck. Ranok's resigned curse makes me think that my diet is not the main problem here. We eat together as a tribe. Only mothers with pups are allowed to eat separately. Smuggling food home is looked down upon as a sign of gluttony, and would immediately rouse suspicion. I look to Ranok's troubled expression. I can see he didn't think this through. None of it. But as he meets my worried gaze, his expression changes immediately. I'll get you some food, he says, determined, but slight unease lines his voice. No, I'll do it. We both look to Vol with surprise. I'll be keeping an eye on the house anyway. He shrugs with a hint of embarrassment, and even Ranok picks up on it, smirking. You're warming up to sailing, aren't you? Psh, as if, you idiot. It's just easier that way. The black male scoffs indignantly. No one would dare follow me. Once the feast starts, I'll bring the piglet some roast. I hope roasted meat agrees with you. I smile in relief as the thought of eating raw was banished by his words. Why did I assume they would eat anything uncooked when they are clearly as civilized as I am? He even has the color of a cinnamon roll. Let's go. Volgor utters impatiently, tapping his foot against the ground and causing Ranok to stand up. The gray wolf winks at me while tilting his head towards the small window. Stay out of sight. I nod as he follows his companions out of the bedroom. They close the doors behind, and a moment later I can hear them leave the house altogether. I'm finally alone. I look around the tiny room, idly patting at the bedding. There isn't much noise, mostly some distant chatter I can't make out. Muffled voices far too away to be intelligible. What I do hear is the forest, wind ruffling the leaves and birds chirping in nearby trees. I am tempted to approach the window and simply take in the scenery, but I know better. I close my eyes and chuckle nervously. This is utter nonsense. I must be dreaming. Or maybe I am the one who huffs some incense. Whatever the case, I'm exhausted by all of this, so I allow my head to fall freely onto the pillow. I collapse into the fabric, allowing it to wrap around me in a warm embrace. It only takes me a moment to sink down into it. The smugness makes my eyelids droop instantly, as heavy as if they were made of lead. For some odd reason, I feel extremely exhausted, almost as if staying awake was unnatural to me. Guess that's what stress does to you. I try to look at the ceiling for a bit, seeking patterns in the naked woodwork, locating different burls and knots within the natural grain of the planks. I yawn, closing my eyes as I let the fatigue overtake me, and I drift away into a peaceful sleep. Oh? I suddenly wake to a loud, resonating thud. I'm just gonna, bring up the censorship. And also, I feel like I want to change the, I'm done thing. I'm gonna change that real quick. I have to. I have to bring it up. There we go. That's just going to be there for a little bit. I get up immediately, seeing the room covered in darkness. It's clearly night. How long was I asleep? Another thud makes me jump up, but this time I know where it's coming from. Someone's banging on the window. Ranok? I call out quietly towards the next room. I know the male went to deal with his tribesmen, but I hope he already returned. The banging continues, this time more impatient, and I start to panic. I look towards the window, trying to remain hidden within the shadows of the room. I'm not supposed to be seen. I can make out a large dark figure, obviously a wolf. I think it might be one of the tribesmen snooping around. Wasn't Volgor supposed to make sure this didn't happen? Open the damn window. Oh, thank God. I hear the familiar cold voice and exhale in relief. I approach the window feeling a lot less worried than before, quickly locating the latch holding it closed. Both wings open with a tortured creak, obviously not used to being swung ajar. Here's your chow, piglet. The wolf passes me a sizable bundle wrapped in linen cloth. Thank you. I respond, taking the parcel. I smile, feeling the aroma of roasted meat hit my nostrils. I had nearly forgotten how hungry I am. Aren't you going to come in? No one lives with Ranok and he's not home. Besides, it's already night. I look around, noticing how dark the outside world has gotten. Can't he have a friend over? I ask, slowly unfolding the cloth. Not overnight. The black male responds, almost appalled by the suggestion. Why? Because that would make them both look defective. I make a dumb, huh? Sound to which he only gives me a telling gaze. Oh, guess wolves don't like homosexuality. Damn. But just because two guys are alone in the same room at night doesn't mean they... I try to rationalize, but I can see his rising brow with each word I utter. Yeah, that does sound a bit off now that I think about it. Is that why you're standing outside the window? Afraid I would seduce you? To my surprise, Volgor snorts at the suggestion and almost smiles. An actual pig would have a better chances at that. I raise an eyebrow with a challenging smirk. It seems more suspicious to have males sneaking about windows rather than having them over for a drink. Volgor narrows his brows, looking at me with slight amusement. You couldn't drink your way out of a piss bucket, suckling. Ouch. The jab wasn't malicious, but ouch. He's definitely being playful, but considering choking me out was his gentler side, why would I expect his verbal sparse to be any tamer? I just shake my head with a smile. At least having a female over has to be normal around here, right? I don't believe even for a moment that this village is full of celibate homophobes. How about a lady caller, then? Can't he have those over? Volgor snorts again. He can, and as much as you do sound like a little bitch, it's a small tribe. I nearly choke at the sharp remark, looking at Vol with obvious annoyance. He clearly enjoys that at least one of his jabs finally landed. Having a female over is quite hard to misunderstand. A mate leads to rumors, rumors raise suspicion, and suspicion leads to wolves sniffing about. We wouldn't want that, would we? I shrug, finally opening the parcel to reveal its contents. It's filled with succulent cuts of meat. They don't look the most appetizing, mostly shredded apart without a care, but the smell alone is enough to make my mouth water. I quickly glance around, feeling troubled by our little rendezvous. It does look quite conspicuous. Don't worry, I'll know if anyone gets close enough to vanish in time. I flash my brows indifferently. Guess not only Ranok is full of himself. I quickly grab one of the chunks and bring it to my lips. Volgor gazes at me with extreme curiosity, but I'm far too hungry to pay him any mind. I take a ravenous bite. The meat falls apart at the slightest touch of my tongue, almost melting inside my mouth. I gasp in satisfaction, closing my eyes in complete bliss. It's good. It's very good. But no matter how hard I try, I cannot figure out what it is that I'm actually eating. Despite my memory being wiped clean, I can still recall certain things. I remember how chicken tastes, or beef. This is something different entirely. Oh god, now I'm hungry. I take another chunk, hastily stuffing it whole into my mouth. God, I'm hungry, and this meat is hitting the spot. It tastes like nothing I ever knew. It's slightly sweet and has an earthy, almost nutty flavor to it. So good. What is it? I ask, still chewing through the sinew, forgetting my manners for a moment. Roasted boar, the male responds. There is an odd discomfort in his voice, but I ignore him. I am utterly consumed by this meal, as I can finally feel the large void in my stomach fill up. It's almost as if I haven't eaten in forever. Dun 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 dun. Na 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 na. I take another piece of meat, reveling its tenderness and juices, reveling in its tenderness and juices. This is going to make me sick. The black male finally catches my attention with his troubled confession. I can see his distress, as if he was truly struggling to keep down his own meal. Woof. I ask, mouth still full of meat as I lick my greasy fingers. It's finger licking good. I wondered how you can eat without a muzzle, but this... He struggles, covering his snout as one does to stop a reflux. You're just stuffing it into a hole in your head. I blink in confusion as the male turns away from me. Is he serious? He's really unsettled just by watching me eat. I chuckle, making nothing of it, and continue with my meal. The idea of this large, cold warrior getting weak at the knees because of my mouth is too much. I'm about to laugh when... Oh god, did he actually throw up? What the... Volgor has just retched a few steps away from the window. I look at his crouching figure in momentary disbelief, but as he purges again, I immediately take my food off the ledge. I know that if the acidity smell hits my nose, I will join him in emptying my own stomach, so I quickly close the window. I stand there looking for any signs of him getting better, but after a while I bring another piece of meat to my mouth with a shrug. I'm still hungry after all. Finally, Volgor appears on the other side of the glass, looking at me with an accusatory gaze. I pause, but his embarrassment makes me chuckle, and then I lose it. I explode in loud laughter, which causes the male to wave at me in panic. It only makes me laugh harder. I can't believe I made this wolf sick just by eating. Shh, be quiet. He shushes me, but I am unable to rein myself in. Shut up, flat face, or I'll come in there and choke you again. He finally growls in playful annoyance. I hush down, looking at him with a smirk. Flat face? You really need to keep quiet. If anyone finds you here, I know. I roll my eyes. But I really think you three are exaggerating a little bit. I blurt out, causing the black wolf's eyes to narrow. Your people wouldn't kill me just because I got lost in their woods. I mean, even you understand this isn't right. You know nothing, piglet. I shrug, continuing to nibble on the meat. I like that meme. Adastra, new Adastra players. You don't get through the emotional trauma. You never get through it. I've played Adastra 7 times. Actually, let me count real quick. Okay, so there was... yeah, like 7 times. And I always cry. And it always leaves a hole in my heart. It always leaves an Amicus-shaped hole in my heart. I'll only tell you this so you'll have no illusion about this not being serious. Long ago, a tigery noble desecrated our grove. Desecrate how? He carved his name into one of the name trees. I narrow my brow, looking at him with confusion. Isn't that what a name tree is for? Like a I've been here kind of thing. It's like what dogs do. It's exactly like what earth dogs do. If they pee on something, they own it. And like what they're doing, if they carve their name into it, then they own it. No. He says with a deadly serious tone, his joviality now completely gone. They are sacred to my people. They supposedly keep the spirits of our ancestors tethered to this world. How does that work? The wolf waves his paw at me dismissively. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that we issued punishment, as was our right. Despite knowing it would cause a war we had little hope of winning. Wait, you killed someone just because of graffiti? Maybe. If you live long enough, you will understand. For now, just accept that to us damaging a name tree is one of the worst crimes one can commit. I shake my head in disbelief. Was it really worth starting a war over? We didn't start it. The tigers did. Because you killed one of their own over something so... Don't talk about things you have no understanding of. He raises his voice ever so slightly as he stifles a growl. Those trees are definitely a sore spot for the wolves. Our world ceased to exist long, long ago. Other kin saw to it. This forest and our traditions are all we have left of what was lost. I can detect an odd twinge of sadness and longing in his voice, something I've never heard from the male. The wolves will go to any lengths to protect what's left, even if it means going to war. If anyone learns that you're here, a lynch mob would have torn you to shreds before any of us had a chance to react. I stop eating, feeling the weight of his words finally sink in. Despite not really understanding the full context of what he said, it's clear that the wolves hate other kin. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. The black male looks at me with annoyance for a moment before exhaling heavily. Just take this seriously. It's enough that Ranok makes light of the situation. I don't want to lose my moon brother, not because of... He cuts himself off, looking at me with almost apologetic gaze. Me. I finished the sentence for him, although I'm sure he meant to use some sort of insult. It's nothing personal. I know, and I'll be careful. Believe me, I do not have a death wish. The Black Wolf smirks at me, most likely trying to lighten the situation. Oh? Well, you could have fooled me. I better go. If I stay much longer, others will wonder where I disappeared to. I better go. If I stay much longer, others will wonder where I disappeared to. Vol. He throws me a surprised gaze and I can see his brow narrow slightly in annoyance. Should have used his full name, but fuck it. Thanks. He shrugs, leaving me alone, and I return to the bed. We're gonna leave off here tonight. Let's just take a moment. It was neat. Hold on, we have to give the stream a couple minutes. It does not like this animation at all. It does not like it at all, and the network is like shitting itself right now. So yeah, we have to like give it a minute. So yeah, I'm gonna leave off here. I actually think I might hop back on immediately to make a TikTok. So yeah. Stay safe, have a good night, and I'll be hopping back on, but if you choose not to, then I'll see you tomorrow.